my nickname is Dr. Q. Dr. Q. And I love the word queuing because it has 5 vowels in a row. Q-U-E-U-B-I-N-G. And so if you do a Google search on Dr. Q, my name is the first one to show up. And so A.K. Erlang was a Danish telephone engineer, and in 1919, he invented the mathematics of queues. He was the first one to mathematize the way queues work. And his equations are still used today in many applications. So I became fascinated with queues, but I extended queues in 2 directions: analytical and psychological. In the psychological part, I found out that there are many queues, like at the Disney theme parks around the world, where the duration of the wait is less important than how you're feeling while you're waiting, and what kind of feedback you're getting to you, and what kinds of distractions you have around you. So the psychology of queuing is more important than the duration of queuing, of the wait. And the second thing is the analytical models that I developed beyond Erlang's equations. Erlang, let's say for a 5-server system, assumes that all 5 servers are indistinguishable. They're all the same, and it doesn't matter whether if you're one of them or if I'm one of them, if I'm busy and you're not, or vice versa. But when you apply queuing theory to urban emergency services like police and ambulance, it's very critical as to which servers are busy and which ones are not. And the spatial pattern of response requires you to keep tabs of which ones are busy and which ones are not. So the state space, rather than being a set of integers along the real line, is an n-dimensional state space where a vertex of the hypercube, might be 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, corresponding to servers 1, 2, and 3 busy, and servers 4 and 5 not busy at the current time. And so I kind of invented the hypercube queuing model and applied it to urban emergency services.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. Dr. Q?
I'm Dr. Q.
Okay. In your consulting work, what was the most unaccepted challenge you faced with public sector client? How do you address it?
I think the most unexpected situations is when they didn't realize they needed my services. And I'll never forget one time that I was presenting my results on rescheduling the emergency telephone operators answering the number 911, and the police commissioner was there, and he was a very stern man and very serious. And I had all the data, and I had charts in different colors that I was showing to him. And he said, wait a minute, Larson. What you're telling me are lies, because my staff tells me there's no problems and delays for answering 911 calls. And in the meantime, in the previous 2 months, there have been letters to the editor of the New York Times saying things like, oh, I dialed the mayor's 911 emergency services number the other night. It rang for 28 minutes and got no answer. And so I called again, and after 25 minutes, somebody else said, police emergency, may I help you? So I was brought in, and I worked with 2 lieutenants. They worked on training, and I worked on queuing theory. And when I presented this to the police commissioner, he thought I was lying. So he said, lieutenants, what's really going on here? And the lieutenant said, sir, everything Mr. Larson is saying is correct. And boy, that got his attention. And all my recommendations were implemented within 7 days. Fastest implementation I've ever had.
Yeah. How do you personally decide in which problem you were pursuing for decades?
How do I decide which problem I'm pursuing? Okay, first of all, now I'm retired, so I'm not doing any more original research, but I'm still doing outreach, and I'd like to plug my book, Model Thinking for Everyday Life. I do outreach to the public about this way of thinking. But when I was active, I actually ran a consulting firm in Cambridge. So on Fridays, I would leave MIT and go to the consulting firm. And we typically had 30 full-time people. And these people worked on contracts in New York City, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, Missouri, and elsewhere. And so the problems we worked on were the problems where there needed to be improvement. The customers were unhappy. The people who were planning the system were unhappy. Or they were not aware of how to schedule. We're not aware of the techniques of operations research. So if you have an order of magnitude difference in between the busiest hour of the week and the least busy, they didn't know how to schedule servers in response to that order of magnitude change. So I went in, and my theory is boots on the ground. Boots on the ground is a figure of speech, meaning the only way an operations research person can truly understand a problem is to put his or her boots on the ground, to go out and experience things, observe, talk to everybody, and understand exactly what's going on. And then and only then are you qualified to make suggestions for improvement.
Okay, that's a good answer. What's a lesson from your recent book, Model of Everyday, that you apply in your daily own decision making?
I didn't understand the question. Speak more slowly, please.
Okay. What's lesson from your recent book, Model of Everyday, that you apply in your own daily life decision making?
I still don't understand what you're asking. Are you asking a question about the book?
Yes. Okay, I will repeat it again.
What about?
What's a lesson?
Pardon?
What's a lesson from your recent book, Model of Everyday, that you apply in your own decision making?
Oh, when do I apply this in my own decision making? Well, I think I'm a model thinker. So model to me is an adjective that has two meanings. Model means exemplary, the thinking to be emulated, and also conceptual model. And I start every day with a model of my day. So I sit down over a cup of coffee and I write an email to myself. And the email to myself is a schedule for how it's a model for how I think the day will progress. And today, when I wrote my schedule for myself, I included you in this interview at 10 o'clock Eastern time. And so that's one way. Another is, I have a dog, her name is Maisie, and I have a model of inventory control. So I'm thinking of, inventory control is an operations research area of focus. And so I think the way the operations researcher would do as the inventory is depleting. And yesterday she was down to just one more can, so I had to go outside to the supermarket and buy her some more food. So I tend to think myself in terms of model thinking.
Okay. So my next question is, when you're building large-scale education programs, what's a failure or a setback you thought the most?
When I'm building education programs, what's the question?
What failure or a setback you thought the most?
What is my impact?
Yes.
What is the impact?
Yes.
Well, there were a lot of education programs that I created. One was LINC, Learning International Networks Consortium. That was years ago, and we had international conferences in various places, including Saudi Arabia. We were in India once. We were in Pakistan once, and so we had that. I ran Center for Advanced Educational Services at MIT for a number of years, and we had practicing engineers come in and train them on the latest educational ideas. And I think the thing I'm proudest of with education is MIT Blossoms, Blended Learning Open Source Science or Math Studies. And we have over 60, I think we have like 80 interactive videos for high school math and science classes and for colleges. And those are all stored now permanently on YouTube. Some of them have been translated and they're used on a daily basis. So I think what I call the democratization of education is very important worldwide. There's no reason that young people who want to learn and who are in a poor village in Brazil or China or the US, there's no reason that they can't have access to the same quality education that somebody in Hong Kong or Paris, France, or Boston has.
Okay. How do you foster critical thinking or the model-driven reasoning in students who are spectacle for mathematics?
Again, you have to speak more slowly.
Okay. How do you foster critical thinking or model-driven reasoning in students who are spectacle of mathematics?
I still don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Okay. How do you foster critical thinking?
How do I pursue critical thinking for students? How do I get students to think critically?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. That's a good question. And, a lot of education in many countries, including large parts of the U.S., all the way through high school, is memorization. Memorization. Okay. Like I always thought of biology. One reason I hated biology as a student when I was 14 years old is that I had to memorize all these things about butterflies and flowers and grass and all this sort of thing. And I said, I hate biology, and because I don't want to memorize all these things. The same with chemistry. But physics has a few simple concepts that then extend and explain physics. So critical thinking requires you to be inquisitive, energetic, always asking questions, wanting to learn something new every day. As Einstein said, if I don't learn something new every day, it's a day wasted. And so that's how I think. And critical thinking is very, very important in contrast to memorization.